Most of us want to know the truth. At least that's what we tell ourselves. But the hardest part about the truth is the truth we each need to be telling ourselves. And you probably realize how easy it is to project off of that, deny that, and just start telling other people what you think their truth is, and neglect what your own truth is. Self-reliance is about telling yourself the truth. And sometimes it's not flattering, and it's not easy. But if you really want to explore yourself as a human being, if you want to find out what you're capable of, if you want to have a really meaningful experience for the time you have, I mean, life is short and denial is long. And we got to dig down and we got to dig deep, because there's stuff we all got to get at. And that's the whole point of a truth sheet. It's not fancy, but it's simply saying, this is the truth about myself. And I need to write it down so I don't forget it. And I build on it. And it doesn't have to be a big deal in the sense that it's just a few categories. We've covered some of them already, the idea of good questions and your support system. What is that? How do you monitor your life experience? So here's another one that's very valuable. And it's the idea that we can accelerate growth through declarative statements. Now, I'm not particularly a huge fan of affirmations. I think they're kind of generalized. They tend to be very intellectual. There's not an emotional, felt state component. It's almost like something to do and get through. And it's more of a routine, and you're not building a relationship. I don't think it gets into the subconscious a lot of the time. And that's the deep digging and the heavy lifting we need to do. Or we do it for a week and it's over and that's the end of it. And it's like, well, nothing happened. Well, duh. And sometimes they're just out gradient and they don't feel true. You know, if you're down to your last $5 and you've got some affirmation going about living on a yacht, I don't think you can buy into that. I don't think that's believable to you. But turning your $5 into 10, into 100, into 1,000, that's more doable. That's more believable. We got to start where we are. And that is very humbling at times, but that's the truth. And knowing where we are is the truth. So let's look at these declarative statements, or the idea of using a declarative statement as a constant reminder of the issues and the concepts that we each want to be tackling in our life, because they can create fundamental changes by retraining the non-serving scripts that we have, the head gab, the self-talk, and the ingrained outlooks and thoughts and behaviors. And we can use them to sum up small specific areas of life or across the board aspects of our personality. And we want to write them out positive and proactive. And in the instance where a blanket statement would cover the issue, you want to write that declarative statement as absolute as possible. So let's take this as an example. You understand the difference between being childlike and childish. So when an adult is childlike, they have a wonderment and they have a curiosity and there's a natural sense of exploration. And it's a beautiful thing and it's admired by other people. And it's something to be cultivated throughout life. Because when the child in you dies, the rest of you is just going to follow right behind it. But on the other hand, being childish, it's not a beautiful thing. Because there are times and situations in life where the child in you, it's not appropriate for it to come out and play. You need to be more in a state of using your adult inside of you. And so let's say, for example, you have some issues with being childish at times. That's inappropriate. So the declarative statement could be, I only express the child in me under appropriate circumstances. I only express the child in me under appropriate circumstances. We're not getting rid of the child. We're just putting it in a place where it best serves us and other people. I remember years ago when I was first developing Vital Mind, I was working with a couple of doctors and we were giving a presentation for the weekend to a group of psychologists. And to say the least, I was immensely invested in this. And this was my life's work. And what were they going to think about it? And how was I going to be? And would I present it well? And we had a morning session and an afternoon session. And when the morning session was over, and I told the people beforehand that I would be having my lunch by myself, specifically. And it was out in the country. It was a beautiful environment. And at lunch, I think we took an hour or so. I had mine in about 5 minutes. And I went out in the woods by myself. And I played the most hellacious air guitar and jumped around and made crazy, strange noises because I knew that all morning the child in me had no participation in what was going on, but it needed to come out. And so I set up the time for it to come out. And when the hour was over and it was time to go back to work, it was time for the child to be quiet again. And it was absolutely essential. And we did this for like 3 weekends to go through the whole program. And each time, when it was lunchtime, I went out in the woods and I played. And I got to be a child. And I allowed the childlike components of myself to come forth, but then they had to be put away. So let's take another example. And that would be the idea of people who have trouble asking for help. And there's a lot of people out there who have trouble asking for help. And some of that's egoic, because you can say, if you did it by yourself, you did it all by yourself. And that's not the point of self-reliance. The point of self-reliance is to be smart. And there's a lot of sources for help. And why not get the help? Really. But there are a lot of people who have issues asking for help. Sometimes it's in specific situations. Other times it's just always across the board. And there's a whole world ready to engage us that we tragically deny ourselves of. And one of the aspects of being a victim is the idea of, I can't ask for help. I must do it alone. And in these situations, if this defines you in a way, you can say, I ask for help starting with God, or help is around me if I simply ask for it, or getting help connects me with others and moves my life forward. It's very important that you put the declarative statements into your own words. A lot of times we run into problems with being a little self-indulgent, and it can be hard to delay gratification. So what about a declarative statement that says, I am self-disciplined and more aware of my choices? How about this one? Sometimes people act on situations very quickly, especially when they're emotional. And people who are emotionally based tend towards a level of moodiness and a fluctuating daily demeanor. And they can personalize situations and they react first without thinking things through. And a good declarative statement for them can be, I act on objective principles and calm thinking. How about making everything hard? How about those of us who buy into the struggle of it all? How about a declarative statement that says, I notice that life has begun to flow more freely and easily for me? So you can get your arms around that. Or if you're constantly looking to others for approval and confirmation, you have a declarative statement that says, I am becoming more confident in my ability to make my own decisions. How about never taking a break or slowing down? We love to applaud the person who works, 80 hours a week. They're amazing. Go, 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 right on through to the heart attack. And what a shame that was. Well, it's not very sustainable. And well-adjusted living is about sustainability and self-reliance and functionality. So how about a declarative statement that says, hitting the pause button allows me to do even more, stay effective, and take better care of myself. So let's take the idea of affirmations to the next level, and let's come up with some of our own declarative statements. And you'll find, if you're willing, and that's why it's important to have it written down, because if it's just in your head, you'll forget it in 3 days, because life's going to take over. So let's admit that up front. Write it down somewhere where you can see it and start to practice it. And you'll start to see slow, incremental steps occurring, improvements, a little bit. It's a day at a time. How do you eat the elephant? 1 bite at a time. That's how we do it. Declarative statements can be very, very powerful, and it's a commitment because we do want to improve ourselves in spite of some of our head gab and thoughts that we have that say otherwise. There is such potential for us to live a quality, engaged, amazing life. Not every second, no. But overall, in general, on balance, we absolutely can. But we got to apply ourselves. And declarative statements help us steer the ship of our life in that direction. And the homework bell asks us to, if we're going to do a truth sheet, we need to have a category on it. Declarative statements. You can use a few of the ones I've suggested. Come up with your own. And obviously there's lots of other issues in life one might be concerned with. Patience is one that comes up for me because sometimes I'm not real patient. I don't want it today. I want it right now. You ever get like that? I get it. And I'll see you after you like and subscribe to the channel in the next video. So you be safe and you have fun. And let's all get something done.